Because I'm through talking with you.
Okay, then go about your business. I'll fill out my form, submit it, and be on my way. You ain't got to sit here, and you know that.
I don't know what you're asking. Did you come here to fill out a form?
I did.
Okay, then fill out the form.
I will fill out the
All
form,
right,
Josh.
Get to it.
I will, Josh. But not under pressure or duress from you. All I want to do is come in here and do stuff that everyone has the right to do and not be fucked with.
You're suggesting there's no problem and they've asked you to leave, so they clearly see that something is going on here. There's a conflict.
My mere presence is a problem.
And I'm sorry that that's happening here.
You don't have to apologize.
Love you, baby. You're beautiful.
A couple of years, things may change when all the kids grow up and start wearing ties and going to the polls.
You ever have that feeling where you're not sure if you're awake or still dreaming?
Any member of the police department who has allowed himself to get out of condition will either get back into condition or be weeded out.
You got a minute? You got a minute? Sure. Okay. Sit down.
What's up?
Well, I'm going to do a report. I'm going to give you an opportunity to clarify anything. You know, Justin requested some body cam, and he was given that body cam. And what I heard on that body cam kind of distressed me a little bit. What I heard was you telling Josh that you were willing to arrest Justin if he told him he wasn't welcome at the DA's office.
The alternative is issuing a trespass warning. When he has to leave, if he doesn't leave, he's under arrest. Are you wanting to do that?
And then the next day when I talked to you, you're telling me no law was broken.
You probably expect there's some videos online from the last few days.
Yeah.
Maybe you guys could sit down with the DA's office and maybe get them to understand that when they put, you guys can easily turn this into a Douglas County Sheriff's issue and just blow up about you guys because you guys got involved in something. And you were basically making Josh feel better about it.
So I guess I'm a little confused. I'm trying to figure out why you're willing to arrest somebody when no law was broken.
So I understand what you're saying. There has been communication since that time. So I think we're on the same page as far as we will not arrest. I told you there was conversation being had between, I don't know if I told you the entities, but us and the DA's office about where we sit.
Like that day with Josh, you guys could have refused to react to that.
So those conversations are occurring now.
They are.
Yes.
That's what I wanted to hear, is that we're having conversations about not letting
I
a
don't
DA.
want to say too much because
no, I
it's
understand.
my
I
spot to
understand.
say that. So I think clarification has been obtained now as to what we will and will not do.
Well, I think, I guess my problem is I'm not sure that clarification was needed. If no law was broken, what's the basis for you saying that you were going to arrest Justin?
So I'm not going to get into that, but I think there were things that were assumed from that entity separate from the sheriff's office. You know, we try to de-escalate things and try to...
Well, this wasn't coming from Sidon. This was coming from you.
What do you mean?
You said to Sidon that if he didn't want him there, he could just want him to leave, and that you guys would arrest him if he didn't leave. You said that. It's on the body cam.
Okay, well, I'm not going to dispute me saying that.
So I guess that's the issue, is if there was no law was broken and you can acknowledge that, why were you about to tell Josh that you would go ahead and arrest Justin?
But like I told you, and we have spoken since then, I think there's clarification. That was a misspeaking on my part.
Well,
just kind of like the issue with the body cam footage. I'm sure you saw that Mr. Spees had, that he's retained from us in reference to the county commission meeting. I had misspoke as far as that goes. I thought he was referring to when he was arrested. I was not there that day.
Was that a violation? So. No, not for the lawsuit. This was a separate.
The courtroom here?
No, he said that it wasn't related to that arrest. He said that at the time.
I don't recall that.
No, not for the lawsuit. This was a separate.
That's where my assumption was, that it was going in reference to when he was arrested. and I wasn't there for that.
No, not for the lawsuit. This was a separate.
Well, misunderstandings aside,
Sure.
I guess the aspect of telling Seiden that you were willing to arrest Justin when there was no law broken.
So if we have to go that route and there is a law broken, that's when we would arrest. If there's no law broken, we obviously don't arrest.
But what I heard on the body cam was you telling him that if he warned Justin that he had to leave and he refused to leave, regardless, you didn't say anything about him conducting business or things like that. You said that if he warned him and he refused to leave, he would then be trespassing, and then you could arrest him.
Subject to interpretation. So your perception of that is different than our perception.
Dale,
I'm not going to get into that.
Do you know how often I get told my perception is off by law enforcement?
I have no idea. We're trying to do the right thing here, and that's why conversations have been had since that point that I relayed to you.
I understand. However, things are coming to light that do not cast a good reflection on what actually happened.
I think the body cam footage does cast a good reflection on on the sheriff's office trying to prevent something from happening when there wasn't a crime committed there.
But you were willing to arrest him based on Josh Seiden saying he didn't want him there. You said that in the body cam footage.
We didn't go that route.
I know you didn't go that route, fortunately.
There was no crime that was committed while we were there.
Okay, but what actually happened was Justin finished his paperwork and left.
Sure, yes.
And you guys were anticipating something happening. I heard that as well.
He's just going to, if he goes on one of his tirades, when you've got like kids and stuff like that, I just think it could really cause some problems. So. Yeah.
You were talking about him.
And again, that's subject to your interpretation, and whoever that sees that video, they can make up their own conclusion as to what that is. But I will say there was no crime that occurred while we were there that would force us or make us affect an arrest.
Then why was there a discussion about trespassing him and arresting him?
Why was there a discussion?
Why was there a discussion at all about trespassing and arresting him if there was no crime that happened?
Mr. Seiden was looking that route, and that's why I pulled him aside.
The alternative is issuing a trespass warning when he has to leave. If he doesn't leave, he's under arrest.
I'll stop my recording and just go back to this because I don't think, have you listened to your own body cam footage?
I don't know that I've heard the whole thing. But I know it was released.
This is you and him walking into the hallway.
The alternative is issuing a trespass warning when he has to leave. If he doesn't leave, he's under arrest. Are you wanting to do that? I'll give him this last core request, and then I think.
Did you hear that?
I didn't hear it.
You didn't hear that part where this is you.
Sure.
At the beginning of that conversation. Yeah. At the beginning of that conversation, the first thing that you say when you guys walk back there, I'm going to dance it up to where you guys are walking through the door.
Sure.
The alternative is issuing a trespass warning when he has to leave. If he doesn't leave, he's under arrest. Are you wanting to do that? I'll give him this last.
That's you offering that option.
And he is the prosecutor. He's saying that.
No,
if they say
let's stop though, but I want to, regardless of what he says is not important.
And that's where I think the conversation afterwards has come into light. Yes.
Okay, none of that relates to what I'm getting at here. Okay, what I'm getting at here is at this point right here, you as a seasoned law enforcement officer have witnessed no crime take place.
Correct.
And you are telling Seiden that you will arrest him if he refuses to leave a public place where he has the right to be and
I 100% see where you're coming from.
Okay, why did you go back there and tell Seiden you were willing to arrest him?
Because I'm not going to get into that. I mean, that's something, like I said, we had talked about afterwards and got clarification on this. I misspoke on that. I mean, I'm happy to say that.
Misspeaking aside,
there was no crime that was committed while we were there. I mean, we can both agree upon that.
Yes, we can, but what we can't understand, though, is why, if there's no crime being committed, why you are telling Josh Seiden that you are willing to arrest Justin.
Because I'm not going to get into that with you, Michael.
It's interesting what parts you won't get into and what parts you will.
I tried to explain myself, and you're not hearing what you want to hear, so therefore,
but you're trying to make it about the conversations that happened after. The conversations that happened after, you've been a law enforcement officer for how many years before this?
For that?
In this video?
Yes.
You didn't say you misspoke.
So I misspoke. If you perceive that as I was going to arrest him, that's why I said it's subject to interpretation. There was no crime committed there in our.
How do I interpret this?
There was no crime committed there in our presence, so therefore there was no arrest made.
I understand that, and I totally agree that was the right path to take.
Yes.
There's no dispute with that.
Sure.
My issue is that at this point in time, a seasoned law enforcement officer on the sheriff's department who has actually ran for sheriff,
Right.
you have witnessed no crime.
Correct.
But at this point, you have enough information to know that there's no arrest that should be made here because there's no crime. You've witnessed no crime.
Correct.
But you are offering that option to Josh Seiden. You've offered it to him in
Again, I
this.
said I misspoke about that.
After the fact.
No, we've had conversations after that, but I'm saying I misspoke when I said that. I think we're trying to come up with the same thing here.
Dale, it's real hard for me to accept a misspoke
Okay.
and just walk away with that. It's very hard for me to accept that because...
And you do what you have to do. I mean, obviously this is subject to interpretation. I mean, I obviously said that and I misspoke, so...
But it's easy to say misspoke afterwards. Did the sheriff misspeak when he arrested Justin?
I'm not gonna talk about what the sheriff
But do you see where this... We misspeak after the fact. Would it have been misspoken had you actually gone through and arrested him?
We didn't. I'm not going to play hypotheticals with you. I'm not going to do that.
There were too many times in the recent years where Justin has been arrested where he shouldn't have been. And what I'm wondering is how much the camera changed that equation. Because I question whether...
Fantastic.
I understand.
I wish we had more cameras.
I understand,
Yes.
but I'm talking about Justin's camera. Because in Kansas, we don't get body cam as easily as you gave it to Justin. How many times has the sheriff's department or other places given me that? They won't.
Again, there are certain limitations, and I'm not going to sit here and talk to you about what they are.
I understand.
Because I don't handle the chorus stuff.
This is, I hope you understand that this is deeply concerning. That
Sure.
It has to be.
Everybody has their own opinion. I mean, I know I'm not going to say anymore. I mean, I understand where you're coming from.
I mean, I respect you for being able to sit down and converse with me.
Sure.
But between you and me, what I was told the day after when I came in and talked to you, and then when I hear this body
You were
cam.
told by me or what?
When I came in and talked to you and you said no law was violated, and I said I appreciate you guys about that. And I said something to the effect of that's part of the why I give the sheriff's department the little bit of leave that I do compared to LPD is because you guys generally, when push comes to shove, will do the right thing. After the fact, I hear this and I'm left wondering if I've been deceived about the sheriff's department. Can you understand that? That when I see this that happened and then the words that you said to me this next day, I'm like, I'm trying to make sense of how, if there's no law broken, you were willing to arrest.
There wasn't any law broken.
And you were clear on that
Yes.
at that point in time, right? That there hadn't been any.
Correct.
At this
No
point
one
in
was
time.
arrested.
Right. But at the point in time where you guys walked into this back office, you were already clear that no law had been broken.
Right.
Then becomes, if you were already clear that no law had been broken, why were you suggesting the ability to arrest?
I understand what you're saying.
That's my problem.
Yes.
And that's what we need to resolve.
And that's why I said I misspoke when I said that.
Okay.
I mean, I don't, there's no two ways about it. I mean, there was no law that was broken in our presence. There was nothing wrong. I mean, we were there as a kind of
No, I agree with all that.
standby, basically.
An unnecessary one, but yeah.
I would say the same thing, yes.
Okay. And we don't disagree about any of that. I don't know that, And you're probably right. We're not going to come to an agreement here. And I can accept that and move on. We've had a good conversation. This is deeply concerning. And it's simply from the aspect that you can acknowledge that you knew at the time that there was no law broken, but yet the recommendation, or the...
Wasn't a recommendation.
Yeah, I'm not going to say recommendation, but the discussion of arrest, in my mind, was completely inappropriate with that knowledge that there was no law broken.
Sure.
Fair enough.
I can see that. Yeah.
Thank you.
You bet. Take care, Michael.
I appreciate you being willing to have a respectful conversation with me.
Sure. You've never done...
Well, I'm a pretty pressing person, and I appreciate you being able to talk.
I get that.
Thank you.